Greetings, everyone. I am Voivode Maquette, and welcome back to our world of darkness, where today we will be continuing our little romp through the forest. We're reading Werewolf the Apocalypse, Heart of the Forest. We are just going to continue where we left off. Chapter 3, Standoff. I need to talk. I couldn't get back to sleep. Since I'd arrived in this accursed village, things had been getting stranger and stranger with every passing hour, and now I'd ripped a pillow in half in my sleep. Nothing about this was normal. I needed to talk it over with someone I trusted. I'd come here with Anya, and despite all the strange things I'd done, she'd stuck with me. I messaged her, and she messaged me back, "I'm on a walk, come join me." The sun had just set, and the moon wasn't up yet. The forest loomed on the horizon. The activist camp was somewhere there. We met near the shop in Werewolf. It was a characteristic enough point and easy to get to from anywhere in town. "What is it?" Anya asked. She looked worried. I know it sounds crazy, but I think something strange is happening to me. It's driving me mad. "There's something strange happening?" She nodded. "But I have no idea what it is. I know even less than you," she frowned. "Maybe we should go to your new friends, the activists." She smiled a little. "They were weird. They must know something." "I come to you for advice, and all you have to say is go to someone else? Thanks for nothing." She looked at me, hurt. "You know what? Yeah, go to someone else, and leave me be." She turned her back on me and just left. Looking at her go, I realized that now I had only one option. The one she talked about. All together now. The camp had a different vibe than the logging site. Protest. There were more people there. I looked around and suddenly feeling very alone. The people in the camp seemed quite cheerful. I saw people at work. Some of them were filling big barrels with sand, some were busy making what seemed to be posters, the rest were singing and cooking. Everyone was contributing in one way or another. I looked around. I definitely needed to talk to someone about what was going on, about what I felt. Olga spotted me right away. "Well, hello again," she greeted me. "I didn't expect to see you here so soon. Actually," she gave me a long, hard look, "I didn't expect to see you again at all." It made me even angrier. For a moment, I wanted to bite her head off and bark some cursed words at her. Took a long breath. Didn't help. And to my surprise, she started to laugh. Her face softened. "What brings you here, kid?" she asked after a beat. "I'm confused," I answered. "Is it really true? I mean, the stories you told me about my past in the forest? There's nothing to be confused about." She shook her head. It's perfectly clear that the government will destroy this unique forest if someone doesn't stop them. And you have your obligation to fulfill. She broke off and bit her lip. What do you want to do about it? I want to do something, I said. Anything. I want to feel like I'm doing something that has meaning, that will change what happens. I feel like I could smash those harvesters with a hammer. Do you have a hammer? If the forest wanted something from me, I couldn't be just an observer anymore. She looked at me. Her eyes were a weird color, like deep, dark honey or molasses. I might, she said. But I need your support because Cornell will try to push his own agenda. The tipping point. They all wanted to do something that night, but after a whole day of discussion, they were still divided on what to do. 3 for one opinion, 3 for the other. I had the deciding vote. I want to break shit. With a little help from my friends. I voted for direct action, and soon we were on our way to the logging site. We had some harvesters to face. We were just a group of dark silhouettes running through the night. The moon was hidden behind the clouds. I was glad about that. Gracious for the shadows that were hiding us. Of course, I would have preferred a new moon. Total darkness, so that nobody saw us, but beggars can't be choosers. We soon reached the logging site. I knew we were there only because I voted for direct action. I made a difference. Olga stood in the middle of the clearing, looking at the harvesters. She had a backpack on her shoulder. When she moved, I heard metallic clatter coming from inside. "Let's get going," she said. She looked different in the dark. She seemed more angular, broader. "Yeah, let's smash something," I agreed. Olga reached into her backpack and tossed something my way. It wasn't a hammer. It was a can of spray paint. Red. I grinned at her. I just grinned at her. I glanced over my shoulder and saw Cornell staring at me. "I hope you know what you're doing," he whispered. He looked at me as if he expected me to say something, but I didn't take the bait. Olga noticed the tension between us. "People know that I'm right," she said, looking Cornell straight in the eye. "You should have noticed that the first time you came here. Your plan will destroy lives," he answered. "Please," I said. "We have work to do." The tension broke. Cornell shook his head and turned around. "Be careful and quiet," said Lisa, and also looked different. There was camo face paint on her broad cheekbones. "There's some guards nearby. I'll take care of them." And with that, she left. The harvesters loomed in the night, now more than ever reminding me of some distorted, terrible creatures from a cheap horror movie. Their black cables glistened in the moonlight, and their stench clogged the air. I shook the can and let go the first blotch of paint. It landed on the side of the harvester. For a moment, I thought the machine shuddered, like it, like I'd wounded it. Suddenly, I tensed up. It would see me. I shook the feeling off. Everything was sharp in the moonlight. My hands seemed to shine when I sprayed the machine with the precision of a future surgeon. It wasn't personal. It wasn't about me or the men who would come here tomorrow and find their equipment harmed, mutilated. It was about the forest. I saw Cornell walking my way, but I decided I had no intention on talking to him. I just focused on painting a slogan across the windshield of the nearest machine. Would it hurt if we spread this message without risking jail? Murmured Cornell, as he looked at the dripping letters. Eventually, our work for the night was done. I looked at the defaced harvesters. I was proud of what we'd accomplished. Whatever the forest wanted from me, I felt like I'd done my part for the night. The paint was slowly drying in the hot night air. Shouts in the night. We stopped for just a minute to admire our work, and for that moment, everything was still and quiet. The air smelled of spray paint. The harvesters looked stupid and helpless. And then, the stillness was broken. Hey! What the fuck? Shit, murmured Olga. Then, she didn't seem scared, though. Just angry. The guards. I took a few fast breaths and cracked my knuckles. I was ready. The guards were coming. There were 5 of them between the trees. 5 men, of course, pointing their flashlights around chaotically and getting angrier with every second. I didn't move. I waited for them to shine their flashlights at me and then took a step toward them. Fuck you and your machines. You have no right being here. Negotiations. One of them laughed nervously. Is that a threat? You're threatening us, girl? Olga laughed from behind my back. Oh, you have no idea how threatening we are. I looked at Olga and she just smiled at me. In the half-light, her teeth looked crooked and pointy. A job is a job, said one of the closest to me. A grim shape who pointed his flashlight right in my eyes. We're calling the police. Don't move. You're the ones who should be arrested, I growled. And maybe you will be. You know your employer is running a illegal operation here? He paused, unsure, and in that instant the phone flew out of his hand. I don't know how Kim got behind him, but they were there, chuckling, mockingly. Oh, sorry. Did you want to call someone? The man turned around and punched them right in the face. They didn't even flinch. And then they grabbed the man, lifted him up, and threw him at the other guards. In for a penny, in for a pound, right? Night flight. The clearing's shattered like a broken window into sharp pieces, its edges cut clean by the rays of flashlights swirling in the darkness. One piece, a shout, another, a silhouette leaping, a dodge, a grunt, a punch, a cry, curses in 3 different languages. My mind was crystal clear as I jumped from one piece to another. I body slammed into one of the men, and he stumbled. I took a step back and gained momentum and hit him as hard as I could. I heard a crack when I hit his nose, and then there was a loud thud. A flashlight shone his way. I saw blood. Blood on his head. Blood on the stone next to his head. Blood on the ground. Dark and fresh. It was a fight. And in a fight, you sometimes get hurt. I turned away from the man and I looked for another target. "She killed him!" one of the men shouted, the horror clear in his voice. He directed his flashlight at my face, blinding me. Instinct now. I moved towards him and grabbed the flashlight, but the guy just was strong and started to struggle. A second later, I noticed a huge silhouette behind him. It looked at me and its eyes were glowing. "Leave her alone," it growled, and I recognized the voice. Was it Cornell? It was Cornell. He was bulging, muscles growing bigger, bones getting longer. He let a joyous roar, throwing his hands, now equipped with strong claws, in the air. He grabbed the man and slashed across his torso. I felt a surge of adrenaline, my nostrils flared, and I heard myself growling. Something warm landed on my face. More blood. Howls, terrified screams. The man screamed again and pointed his gun at Cornell. I attacked on instinct. I zeroed in on the man, pointing the gun, and launched myself at him. A gunshot tore through the night. Bloody moon. The pain was unbearable. Nothing in my life had prepared me for this. Blinded by the blood in my eyes, my shoulder and chest burning, I went berserk. I shouted. I swung my arms blindly. I cried and I howled. I stumbled. I fell. The forest caught my fall with a bed of moss and twigs. I stopped thrashing, and the cold numbness engulfed me. I punched the earth, trying to get some feeling in my hands. I gritted my teeth and tried to get up. I collapsed again. I felt so cold. Suddenly, there was light. I looked up. The full moon. Luna in her full glory. The moon was a goddess, and she noticed me. "Get up," she said. I get up. I feel good. I know that I shouldn't, but I don't remember why. I don't care. I take a breath and feel my ribs and muscles move. The forest smells of blood and fear and excitement. I laugh happily, and others' laughters join me. We laugh and sing to the moon. My mind is clearer than it's ever been before, and I see the world in sharp contrast to black and white, movement and stillness. I smell prey. I hear language in the hooting owls, the whistling of the wind and the snarling of wolves. I am one with the forest. My muscles are sore and cramped, so I stretch like I've never stretched before. My arms are longer, my legs are stronger. My heart is pumping, and I feel like I've spent my whole life packed into a box and I've finally been set free. Something touches my leg. There's a small, malformed creature sticking something sharp into my muscle of my thigh. The creature's no threat to me, but its presence is annoying. Its smell almost sends me reeling, and I don't like being pricked. I reached out lazily and ripped its head off its shoulders. Blood blooms from its neck like a beautiful flower. I throw the head back towards the moon. My ears prick. I hear more creatures running blindly through the bushes. My legs no longer sting, and I feel better than ever before. I smell prey and I start hunting. They do not see me as I move silently through the undergrowth. The creatures are running away, their backs turn to me. A growl escapes from between my teeth, and one of them turns my way. It challenges me. I roar and the creature falls down and curls into a ball. It smells of ammonia. Piercing light burns my eyes. I hear more creatures coming my way. They want to hurt me. I hide in the shadows, and they are too slow, too dumb, too clueless to notice me. I strike them down one by one. Some manage to defend themselves briefly, but most of them don't see me coming. The wind brings a new smell. The air tastes of fur and musk and blood. Shapes are moving the trees. Shapes move among the trees, but they are no creatures. They're people, like me. Suddenly, I'm surrounded by them. I think I know them. They seem familiar. It's like I met them in the past, but they were hidden. They close in on me. What do they want? I relax and wait for them, unflinching. They approach me and sniff the air. Their smells are overwhelmingly familiar, and once the people had sound attacked to me. But now I realize the sounds were not their true names. Run with us, they say. And we hunt together, and there's joy. There are no words to describe the thrill of being a part of a pack and closing in on your prey, tearing it apart. Then I get lost chasing something only because it's escaping. I am alone in the forest. I am alone in the heart of the forest. I look up and see the moon, only clouds and tangled branches. Something changed, and I realized how tired I was. I stumble. Nothing was okay. The night sky was full of stars. Confused, I opened my eyes. The forest around me was thick and dark. The tree trunks, wrapped tightly in dark, leafy ivy, were covering in ripples of lichen where the vines hadn't taken hold. The thorny leaves, bushes at their base were overrun with nettles. The fungi radiated with a ghoulish, sickly green light. Dark sponge-like mushrooms clung to fallen trees. I took a deep breath and winced. There was a foul smell in the air, and suddenly I realized it wasn't the forest that smelled so foul. It was me. I looked down and saw my hands covered in the dark substance. I was naked. A sticky, glistening film of liquid was clinging to my skin. I could feel it on my face and my hair. Blood. I felt something waking in my chest. A long, guttural scream. I remembered my dream and slowly lifted my eyes. There was a severed head right in front of me. The face was contorted, eyes bulging, the mouth open. The tongue stuck out. It was obscene. I doubled over, retching. I recognized the face. It was one of the security guards, the one I had argued with. It was my fault. No! I let out a long, blood-curdling scream. The night swallowed it. The bushes rustled, and a moment later I saw Cornell coming up from behind, from between two trees. He looked at me, at the head, at my face. He came closer and squatted beside me. This is what we were trying to tell you. His gray eyes smiled. See, you're a werewolf. I looked at him. I blinked. Well, shit hit the fan. Quickly. I was actually just discussing with somebody about how we were pretty much halfway through it and nothing had happened supernatural yet, but how much I was so engrossed in loving the story. I do believe that this is what we're going to call it. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you're enjoying this as much as I am. And I hope that you're getting as much of this, getting out of it as much as I am as well. This is a beautiful explanation of werewolf, and it's touching my heart deeply. But I am Voivode Maquette. This is Our World of Darkness, and I will be back for Chapter 4 as we will continue Lost in the Woods. Good evening.